Well, thank you, Madam Chair. It is an absolute privilege and pleasure to be here. I must say also, the average age of the people I'm speaking to is a lot younger than I'm used to, and I'm very encouraged by that. You see, as a doctor, especially as a lifestyle doctor, I spend most of my time talking to people who have disease and they need a lot of help. You guys are right out there in front. You've got your lives ahead of you for your education, work, but also your health. So some of the things I'm going to share with you, I hope you will take away with you and you will apply. What I'd like to do is start by taking you back a bit, and I will actually come back to your point a bit later. Take you back to the 1970s. The Premier of China was dying of cancer. As he was dying of liver cancer, he did something quite interesting. He said, look, I want to find out, why are people in China dying from cancer? You know, the wonderful thing about having a totalitarian state is when you do a survey, everybody has to answer. It was the biggest survey on human health ever done. 880 million people surveyed. They got all this information together and they discovered that the richest parts of China had the highest rates of cancer. The poorest, rural parts where they're doing subsistence farming, hardly any cancer. If I give you some figures, in the rural parts of China, the rates of cancer were something like 1 in 100,000. In the richest parts of China, it's roughly about 1 in 3, 1 in 4, sort of like our figures in this country. And they scratched their heads. They didn't understand, why should this be? Then they discovered, when they put all the evidence together, they said that the more meat and dairy products you have in your diet, the greater your risk of cancer. Now, the people doing the surveys were not vegetarians or vegans. They didn't actually believe the results that they got, so they did some more experiments. They took some rats, about 1,000 rats. They injected them with the toxin aflatoxin causing liver cancer. They all died from liver cancer. They then got another strain of rats, just lowered the animal protein content from about 30% to down about 10%. They injected them with aflatoxin. None of them got cancer. So even when you're programmed to get cancer, by altering your diet, by lowering your animal product intake, you can almost bulletproof yourself from certain cancers. Look, I think it's quite overwhelming, the evidence. That is called the China study. It's produced thousands of research papers. And really all around the world, it shows different societies, the more meat and dairy they have in their diet, the greater their risk of cancer. I can say the same thing about heart disease we've just heard. I can say the same thing about diabetes. We don't have the time to go on with it. But all I would say to you is that this push that we've had, I used to be an orthopedic surgeon. I used to replace people's hips. And my professors would say to all of those old ladies, look, go and eat as much cheese, drink as much milk, your bones will get stronger. That is absolutely the opposite of the truth. The more of these big proteins you have in your diet, swirling around in your bloodstream, the more acidic your blood becomes. If your blood is acidic, you need calcium to neutralize it. Where do you get the calcium from? It comes from the bones. In this country, we have weaker bones than the people in certain countries where their diets are pretty much animal product free. But look, I don't want to go on talking about meat diets. I mean, that would be a mistake. Fair enough. That's okay. I mean, I don't want to make any. I'm just getting the levels of humor in this place. That's absolutely fine. But look, let me talk about some positive things. Phytonutrients. We hear about this all the time. Antioxidants, phytonutrients. Well, look, if you've got a slab of meat in front of you, how many antioxidants are in that meat? Just about none. I mean, it seems that our bodies were designed for all of this fresh fruit, vegetables, whole grain produce. It's perfectly designed for our bodies. That's the thing that keeps us going. Look, I spend a lot of my time helping people to get rid of blood pressure. I don't believe people need to live with blood pressure. But one of the things I tell them is, look, if you want to lower your blood pressure, one thing you can do is eat more greens. I don't know if you know this. The chlorophyll that makes the greens, when it gets into your bloodstream, it causes your arteries to open up. And they open up because they release a chemical, nitric oxide, just because the greens are going through your arteries. Nitric oxide, by the way, is the active ingredient of Viagra. Nobody here has heard of Viagra. It seems that only the women seem to have heard of Viagra. I don't know. But the thing is that what Viagra does, it opens up the arteries and more blood flows through. Now, I get many men say, look, Dr. Chidi, yes, I want to listen to what you have to say. I want to be healed, but don't tell me about rabbit food, please. The one thing we know about rabbits, they don't need Viagra. I'll move on. Look, it's a privilege for me to be here, but I get to speak in many different parts of the world, and one of the parts I'm very fond of is a place in America called Loma Linda. You may have heard of it. It is one of these blue zones around the world. Blue zones are where people live longer than most people. In Loma Linda, California, they have a rate of people reaching 100 years old 10 times greater than any other area around them. And you know what? They're totally vegetarian. Now, somebody has to explain to me, why is it that this society, and by the way, I was there a few years ago, I was being driven around by a woman who's 104 years old. She was telling me that she feels just as sexy today as she did when she was 94 years old. Now, that is a strange chat-up line, but, you know, I take whatever I can get. But she is quite typical. You go out there, these people have lived their lives, they have been fully plant-based. Somebody please explain to me why they live so long and why they live so well. A healthy plant-based diet is not just good for the planet. It's not just good ethically. It's actually good for us. And if I can let you go away with something, it is that. But I want you to do me a favor and just vote for the proposition. Thank you very much.